All right, you ready to go?
Okay, so there's about 5 or 6 questions on both tests from this category. But we're gonna start pretty easy. This is not a hard math packet, but there's stuff on there. And Zoe Robson took AP statistics, so this is gonna seem easy. So the average is you just add everything up and you divide by how much you have. Pretty easy. So we can add these numbers, and so B would be correct. You just take the sum over the numbers you have. So the median is the middle value, like the median of a highway. So like if you have an odd number of terms, the median will just be in the middle. If you have an even number of terms like here, you're just going to average 12 and 13 and get 12.5. Okay, so we're going to do a couple book problems. Oh, and so Zoe Latham, you can let us know how you do, okay?
Okay.
If you want to, but okay, so I'd like to start at 348, number 1. We're just going to do a couple of these book problems. And so usually they give them to you all scrambled up, but these are in order. So find the median. So I'll take 4 numbers there, 4 numbers there. And so everybody get B, we're good? Zoe Latham, we're good?
Yeah.
Okay, and Zoe Robson?
Yeah.
Okay, I know we're starting off easy, just be patient. Okay, now I want to do 425. These are sort of just warm-ups. Okay, so we're gonna do number 9. And I hope you both have a calculator, or you can use Desmos. Data set A and data set B have 27 values. So we're gonna divide by 27. The table shows the frequency of the values for each data set. So as you can see here, data set A, so there's 2 30s. And you can just work ahead of me, girls. Ladies, I should say, you're off to college soon. You're young ladies. Huh. Okay, so that's going to be for A.
Well, you got 946s too.
Oh, yeah. I'm not gonna write all those.
Just for like ×9 or something, so we know. There
Okay,
you go. That'll be good enough.
so that should be 9/4 over 27, which equals 40.52. And then if we do B,
Maybe just like write 9 × 30, because I think that's taking a lot of space.
yeah, I'm
Let me
sorry.
just maybe give you some space.
Yeah, I'm not gonna take, and if they give you a lot,
So, yeah. $46 times 2.
and that adds up to 958. So A is this. B, when we add them all up and divide, it's gonna be 35.48. So A is bigger, which means it's answer choice A. So that's good, Zoe Robson.
Yeah.
Okay, and Zoe Latham.
Yeah.
What are the chances we would have two Zoes? So let's go back a couple of pages. We're gonna go to 418, number 3. And then we'll put this stuff, this easy stuff to bed. Although, yeah. So this is definitely a calculator problem. And we're getting the mean. I usually underline this, so you want it, because you don't want to make a mistake and get the median.
Just 4 times 3.
Yeah. Oh. And so when you add those all up, did you get 576?
No,
Oh,
I got, hold on. 90.
okay. So Zoe Robson, you're good with that one?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Zoe Latham?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay, so, we have one more maybe. Okay, I want to do this one for a reason. So if we go to 572, number 2. And so this is one you can fly like an eagle and you don't have to calculate it. So we have, so set X is 5, 9, 9, and 13. Set Y is going to be 5, 9, 9, 13, and 27. So obviously this mean of Y will be higher, so X is lower. So that answer is B, and we didn't even have to put it in the, we didn't have to put it in the calculator even because this is larger. So I'm assuming you girls are totally okay with that. So let's go to back in the packet. Okay. So the mode is the most common because pi L mode has the people like that the best. So the mode here would be there's 258s. It's the one that's the most. So that's pretty easy. So A for their example. An outlier is anything that's outside the data set, like something that's way out here. When a distribution is symmetrical, the mean and the median are equal. So here, so the bell-shaped curve, you've heard of that. That's like people in intelligence, people's height, SAT scores are all by the bell-shaped curve. Okay. So before we leave that one book problem. 274, number 11. Okay, this one is just reading a graph. The scatter plot in the XY plane above shows 9 points in a line of best fit. Of the following, which best estimates the amount by which the line underestimates the value of Y when X is 50? So I just look when X is 50, and I see that up at the top would be 65, and the line of best fit underestimates it
47 or so.
47 or so. Doesn't matter, and I got 18. So I think you're both good with that one. After all, you're my scholar princess always. Okay, let's go on to page 4. Okay, a certain store stocks 5 different brands of paint, and this is their numbers. We got to get the median and the mode. So I usually recommend putting them in order if it's not a ton of numbers, because it's easy in your brain to mess up. So just to be sure, because it's 10 points. So obviously the median is 25 and the mode is going to be 30. And so the difference is 5. And I'm sure that you're okay with that one. When we get to the heart, this one might be a little tricky. So you could either pick numbers. Remember that strategy, it can get you 50 points on the test. If I have to add these, a lot of people might miss that X. And I divide by 4, I would have 4x plus 6 over 4. So I have to take both so this will be, I have to take this over 4 and this over 4. So that will be x plus 1.5, which is A. So Zoe Latham, is that okay with you?
Yeah.
Zoe Robson?
Yeah.
Okay. An audit was conducted of the price paid by an airline for a number of commercial planes. Those conducting the audit discovered that the mean plane, so here's our planes. And the median cost is $275. But the mean plane cost is $350 million. So that means there has to be some higher, since that's our mean, there has to be some more planes in this area. We don't know that it's many planes. That would be a trap. This is totally wrong because there has to be several planes that cost more than the other. So it has to be C.
So something is pulling that mean over.
Yeah. A planer, we don't know how many planes are pulling that mean over. Does that make sense, Zoe Latham?
Yeah.
and Zoe Robson.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, on the next one, these are other graphs. So here's a bar graph. We need the mean, not the median. So I would just, if you get that question, I just underline that. So we're just gonna do. Our mean is the sum over the number. So we have one poor mommy dog that had 10 puppies. 2 dogs that had 2 puppies. 3 litters that had 4. 5 that had 3.
Did you skip 4?
Oh, yeah. 4 that had 7. And when I added those all up, I got 140. And then I just add up the litters. So 1 plus 2 plus 3. That equals 28 litters. And so the mean is 5. So I'll give you a second to just process that one. Okay. So let's go to one that's a little bit harder. In the book, we're going to go to 272, number 4, just because it's a little more analytical. So a fish hatchery has 3 tanks for holding fish before they're introduced into the wild. The fish that are less than 5 tanks are placed in tank A. And does it tell us?
Yeah, there are 10 of them.
Oh, there's 10 of them. And then for B, it's between,
It's at least 5, no more than 13.
okay, and there are 11 of these fish. And then the latter one is more than
13.
13, yeah.
And there are 12 of them.
Okay. So Zoe Latham, we're trying to get the median, not the mean here. So we really don't have to write all out these numbers. What do you think the median is, Zoe Latham? If you were to pick the middle number of all these.
And we don't know exactly which it could be, but we
Yeah.
just sort of know where it is.
But do you sort of see that it would have to be 11? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, because, I mean, we don't know exactly where these numbers are, but
We're somewhere in between.
we're
5
somewhere in between 10 and 12, so it would be 11. So
Well,
we-
11 fish, but
Yeah.
you're in the 5 to 13 weight. They want the median weight.
yeah,
So something in
so
there.
the number in there would be B. Zoe Robson, you're good with that one?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, back to the packet. Like I said, this is not a very hard math lesson. This one is a little hard. So we're getting the median. So the table above shows the attendance at the home games for a football team. So we have 5 games. We know the median attendance was 345. No games had the same attendance. So we can pretty much see that this would be 422, and we could fill that one with 45. And since this 302 because we know this number has to be the greatest possible value. And so people come in integers, so it would be 344. Does that make sense, Zoe Robson?
Yeah.
Zoe Latham?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, next page. Now, if they give you a histogram, like they're doing here, and we want to get the average score, so that's the mean. So, in the book, it tells us to get the left bar and the right bar, but Jim had an insight. You're just going to get the average of, because we don't know where these numbers are. Do you understand? So we know we have three numbers, and the average of them has to be 67.5. Because I'm just averaging 65 and 70. And then there's going to be four numbers that are 72.5. And then six numbers, 77.5. Four numbers, 8 that are 87.5. And that saves you a lot of time getting the left bar and then the right bar. That would be just too much. And so if we get this average, 7 that are 92.5, and 2 that are 97.5. So when I add that all up, I'm going to get 2, 1,
I got 2830.
2830. And we're going to divide. They tell us, always look in the problem. Usually they tell you sometimes divided by Thor, which is approximately 83. So what I was really trying to get at you was that you were going to be getting the average of these numbers. So is that good, Zoe Latham
Yeah.
and Zoe Robson?
Yeah.
Looks like a bloody mess. Okay. Now, you've had these in school, and they're called box and whisker plots, I think. I hope that's how you learned it. I think maybe in 6th grade. So anyway, this is your median. Those are your outliers, the whiskers. This is known as the upper quartile. It's like if the median is here, there would be an upper quartile right here. And this would be the lower quartile. So let's
So
look at
what is the top whisker minus the bottom whisker called?
the range.
Okay.
So the range is another term we're going to have to know. It's the highest minus the low. We're just going, after coming out of AP statistics, Zoe Robson says this is a laugh, right? So if I added 130,000 doctorates, that's going to move everything over, so it will be D. So have you girls seen these plots before, Zoe Latham?
A while ago.
Yeah. Zoe Robson?
Definitely.
She says,
Yeah.
oh yeah, that's
That's
right.
PTSD from AP stat.
She has PTSD. Oh, that's funny. Okay, so we're gonna do the range in height. Usually height is here and plants are down here. But here we're just gonna take 5 minus 1, which is 4. Okay, and then I want to do one in the book. Um. No, I think we already did that. Did we do 580 number 14? Just look at
Yeah,
that.
let me look.
Okay. Now, this one's a little tricky. You might have done this
I don't think you have.
580 number 14.
No, it looks like
What is it?
it's a mean problem.
Okay, let's look at it then. One last mean problem before we get to. So I'm looking for clear canvas and we're looking for. We're on,
It's 580 number 14.
okay. Oh, we did this last week. This is a percent problem. We don't have to do this now, guys.
Wait, which one are you talking about?
No.
You're not on the right page.
Oh, 274 number
You're at
14.
589. You were saying,
Oh, I'm on what?
page 580?
Okay, hold on.
Yeah, there's a mean question here, and on the following page, there's a range question you might wanna do, I don't know.
Okay. So we're going to look at number 14. We're in module 2, so this is a little hard. Data set A consists of 75 buildings that have a mean of 32. So that is,
The sum will be 2,400.
and then we have data set B is 50 buildings, of which the mean height is 62.
That's 3,100.
So then I'm gonna add these. Divide by the number of buildings I have. Because C puts it all together. And that should be 44. Okay, Zoe Latham, you're okay with that one, right?
Yeah.
And Zoe Robson,
Yeah.
yeah. They can't make a statistics problem that would confuse you right now, so let's go back to the packet. So lots of times you do this. You figure out what you need to get on a final to get a certain grade in a class for the semester. So here, well, we did it below here, so and then on the next page, we add up all these values and notice we have a mystery value X. Dividing by how the number we have, which is 7. So that's, we multiply 7 times 91. I just want this to be facile in your brain. And so the missing number would have to be 91. Okay, so let's try this March 1. Okay, so we know we're going to use our average formula. And so we're going to add up. Oh, Addie, nice to see you, honey. So we're on page 8 in the packet.
It's the data statistics packet.
Oh, the data statistics packet. I'm sorry. It looks like this. It should be at the very bottom. You find it, hon? Yeah, you got it? Okay. we just did mean, median, and mode, and we're doing page. What page is that, Jim?
You're on page 8.
Page 8 in the packet. Thanks for joining us. And so we're finding the missing number. We have to find out what the temperature is in March. So the average over the 5 months. Wait, I can't read this. I don't want to move the people.
Yeah, so the average is that.
I know. My problem is
They want to know what the mean temperature was in March.
the average is, so we have 5 months,
Right.
and so we're gonna add 26. We have a mystery number, 46 and 54. So when I multiply both sides by 5, I then get 210. And I know what these add up to. So. I just want you to be, this is your fingerprints, mental fingertips. That's those 6, wait,
Plus X, right?
yeah. My 6 was messy. So we just subtract 162. And it was 48 degrees in March. So Zoe Robson, are you good with that one?
Yeah.
Zoe Latham,
Yeah.
Addie, you're good? Okay, this one, you could do the algebra, or I'm just gonna pick numbers just to bring that strategy up to you. So I'm gonna say A is 2. So the mean of A and A plus 2, so I'm gonna call that 2 plus 4. Which is 3, which is my X. Then I have to get Y, which will be 2 plus 0, which is 1, which is Y. And so 3 minus 1 is 2, which is A. And you also could do the algebra if you wanted to. But I think that picking numbers, I just want to bring that strategy back. Okay. So let's go on to the next page. So the average of 6 rocks is 12 pounds. So we're just going to use our average formula. So 12 rocks. So the sum of those 12 rocks has to be 72. And then we're doing, we're adding another rock, so that'll be 7 rocks. And then the whole thing goes up to 15 pounds, which is 105 divided by 105. So we want the difference. What was that last rock we added? And it has to be 33. So I'm assuming everybody's good with that one. I just want you to do this ahead of Saturday or whenever Zoe Robson takes her ACT. Okay, let's do this last one. So again, we want the average. So that'll be A, B, C over 3. The average is 8. So those add up to 24. And I know you probably did this a while ago, except for Zoe that took statistics. So this is 44. And 44 minus 24 on this planet is 20. So, Addie, you're good with that one? Joy Robson,
Yep.
and Zoe Latham.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, variation. So again, the range is going to be the largest number minus the smallest number. So let's try one in the book. Just so you know that term, 581, number 17, sorry. Okay. So here, and this is a module 2. The dot plot represents the 15 values in data set A. Data set B, we're going to add 56 to every value. But can you see between A and B, the range is going to be the same because the range is 4. Whether we do 26 minus 22, or whether we're going to add 56 to that. Whether we do 82 minus 78, we would still get 4. And the medians are going to be exactly,
No. The ranges are the same.
the ranges are the same. So it's C, right?
Yeah. The median of B is gonna be
Oh.
bigger. Because you're adding all those numbers.
Yeah, because we're having all these numbers, so the median here has to be bigger. Okay, Addie, you're good with that one? Zoe Robson
Yeah.
and Zoe Latham.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're dealing with standard deviation. So I'm going in the packet. So we covered range. This is the other measure of variation you need, but you don't need to calculate it. You will not be asked to calculate it. You just have to understand it. And so if we go to the next page. Now, I know, Zoe Robson, I know you're a statistics teacher, never used this strategy. Oh. So I got the book Statistics for Dummies and did all that, but I came up with my own. The lower standard deviation is closest to a nose. And I'll explain this. Because I thought of it because if you have a deviated septum after you've been boxing. So the whole formula has you calculate the mean and then the difference, and you might have done this in 6th grade. See how that's pretty low, but this guy is way high. So you don't want to go on a date with this person, if that makes sense. You never heard the nosal analogy, Zoe Robson, did you?
No, never.
I know, that's my own concoction. And I wasn't drinking. Okay, so let's look at this one. Okay, I just had to come up with something. The histogram above summarizes the ages and months of children in daycare. We're going to put another child fitted in the 12 to 13 month. And so that's going to make it more like a nose.
So that was the median?
Yeah, and this is the median. We're telling you that all the,
I mean, you could calculate it, but
yeah,
just trust us, that was the median, and it still is the median if we add one there.
yeah. But the standard deviation is going to decrease because it looks more like a nose, less deviation. So let's go, let's see. So let's go to a book problem. Your statistics teacher, I can't even talk,
Yeah.
didn't even know about the nose. Okay,
You have a lot of strange memory aids, but if it works, stick with it.
yeah, so let's go to 265. Okay, so we have class A and class B. And then these are all the same. So if you're gonna go on a date, what you don't want to go on a date with B, right? Because that would be a hunk of a nose. So we want to go, so A is going to have a lower standard deviation, so our answer is A. So Zoe Robson, you remember calculating all this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you don't have to do that on this test. So you're okay with this, Addie? Yes, and Zoe Latham?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go on to the next page in the packet. Of the following sets of numbers, which set has the smallest standard deviation? You don't have to calculate it, but you can sort of see these numbers would be closest together. So this one would be D. And this one, well, we don't want to go on a date with that nose or that nose or that nose. So this isn't an ideal candidate either, but it's the best. So B would have the lowest standard deviation. So we're gonna try a couple of these in the book. First, we're gonna go to (419), number 9. And this is just so when you see this problem, you know what to do. 419, number 9. Okay. So we look at the dot plots for glue sticks. Which statement best compares the standard deviation of the number of glue sticks? So you can sort of see that even though the numbers are different, the standard deviation is going to be the same because
The curve is the
the
same.
curve is the same. Whatever it is, it's the same here. So everybody, so let me ask, Eddie, are you okay with B for that one? Zoe Latham?
Yeah.
Oh, good. And Zoe Robson,
Yeah.
of course. Okay, one more. We're almost done with the math, if you can believe it. It's not so bad. Okay, so we're gonna go to one that's a little different kind of a problem, but I just want you to face it here because you could see it on the test. On 273, we're gonna look at number 7. Okay, a sample of 4th grade students was selected. I'm at the top of the page 273. I'll let you get there. I might have rushed. A sample of 40 4th grade students were selected at random from a certain school. The 40 students completed a survey about the morning announcements. 32 thought the announcements were helpful. Which is the largest population to which the results of the survey can be applied? A is just the 40 students we had. So it's going to be B, the 4th grade students at the school. We can't extrapolate to all students at the school or all 4th grade students in the county. We can just only go as high as B. Okay. So let's go back to the packet. Okay. So we're going to the Kentucky Derby, number 4. The dot plot above depicts the height in inches of jockeys who participate in the Kentucky Derby. What's going to happen to the standard deviation if we get rid of the highest and the lowest jockey? Everybody see the standard deviation is going to decrease. And I think that makes sense because we're going to shorten it down. Okay, for the next one. Now, this sort of ties into the presidential campaign. So we don't have to really know much about they can't go out and interview everybody in the United States to see who's going to vote for who ahead of the election. So this is the margin of error. So which would it be easier to hit? A small dartboard or a big dartboard? It's going to be easier to hit the big dartboard, right? So this is what you think. You think the larger, wait, let me write this down. You can write it down too if you'd like. The larger the sample, the smaller the margin of error. Does that make sense? So I can hit the dartboard better if I have a big one. I'm sorry, that's sloppy writing. It's this glass surface is hard to write on. So just say to yourself, you could write it down so it fixes in your brain. The larger the sample size, the smaller the margin of error. So let's look at this problem. In a particular study, a sample of the population showed that 92% of the people lived in the same residence as they had the previous year. So it has a margin of error of 1.5%. So that means we could subtract the 1.5, and that would be 90.5. 2, and then we add 1.5, 93.5. Then you can see down here, we just multiplied these by 60,000. And so answer choice C is the best option, because we're going from 54,000 all the way up to 56,100. Okay, so let's go to a margin of error book problem. If I'm going too fast, somebody scream, Zoe scream. Addie, you could just go like this because I can't hear you. So we're going to 497, number 8. Okay. To estimate the proportion of a population that has a certain characteristic, a random sample was selected from the population. Based on this sample, it's estimated the proportion of the population that has the characteristic, something with your ears or your nose or something, 0.49, associated margin of error of 0.004. So we can add that and we'll get, if we subtract that, we'll get 0.45. And if we add it, oh, it's just 0.04. I put an extra 0 in there, sorry. All the way to 0.53. And so the answer would be A, because plausible means it's possible.
Speaking of Whisker Plus, there's one on the previous page.
Didn't we did that one, didn't we?
No.
Okay, so let's go to, oh, Jim just spotted it. I thought we did this one.
No.
So we're gonna go to 496, number 6. So we have group 1, and then we have group 2.
I think this one really is just a test of remembering what that little line is.
Yeah, and so that little line is the
Median.
median. So it's not gonna be the mean with the box and whiskers plot. So A and B are out. And we can see that the median of 1 is greater than the median of 2, so that answer will be C. So Zoe Robson, you're good with that one, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And Zoe Latham.
Yeah.
Okay, and Addie, you're good? I think you had this in 6th grade. Also, if they say random, I just want, that means
Unbiased.
unbiased, yeah. And some of your teachers might have random seating arrangements. And so if I said, we're going to try to figure out how many households have children in the little borough, and I go to the park and survey them. Do you see, if I go to the park, the kids' park, to survey, that is not going to be random, right? It's going to be skewed. Or I don't know if they use another word for
I
that,
would just say biased.
or biased.
If it's a children's park, they're gonna have potentially more children there.
Yeah, there'd be more children there, so it wouldn't work. So even if the sample size is only 20, don't pick the smaller sample size. Say it's biased. I've seen them test that before. Okay, that was good. You spotted that, Jim.
Mhm.
All right. So we just conquered margin of error. Okay, so we're almost done here, girls. Can you believe that? Okay. Researchers measured the heart rates of crew members doing a 2,000-meter race. The mean heart rate was 146 beats per minute, with a margin of error of plus 14. So that'll be 160. And then we subtract it, and that'll be 132. And so the only number that's between there, the most plausible, the most reasonable would be 140. Okie dokie. Did we do 343 number 7? You just
Oh, sure.
okay. The last page before we added something, and I don't know if you all got it, so maybe not.
I don't think you did that one yet.
Okay, so this is, what is it, 343?
Yeah, number 7. Oh, it's a margin of error problem.
Okay. Okay, you can work ahead of me. From a population of 50,000 people, 1,000 were chosen at random and surveyed about a proposed piece of legislation. Based on the survey, 35% of the population support the legislation with a margin of error of 3%. So that would be 32 all the way to 38. And so we would just take that and multiply those two numbers, drop the percent.
The lower one was 16,000,
Okay,
and then the upper one is 19,000.
And so the answer would be C. Don't want to make an O because, okay. So Zoe Robson, you're good with that?
Yeah.
And Zoe Latham.
Yeah.
Okay, and Addie, you're good? Okay, you're gonna be in my thoughts and prayers Saturday, you who are taking the test. So the last page,
They may not have that.
you
page.
might not have this page.
Maybe see if they do. I don't know if we.
I don't
included
think
that.
you do. I don't-
Maybe I just have to write them out or as best as you can.
Yeah. I think,
Oh, you still have this page to do too.
oh, okay, 1 second. I have a page I skipped, but I found what I wanted to do here on, 1 second. Okay, I want to do the last page of the packet and then a couple other problems. So this one. Okay. Before an election, 1,000 randomly selected voters in California were surveyed about what single issue was of their most concern. Of those surveyed, 670 voters answered the economy. So in statistics, we can never say exactly. So Robson probably learned that, right? No exact. You're only guesstimating, sort of. And so we want the paraphrase, which would be D, which matches. They thought the economy was of the most concern. And then, oh, okay. A baseball enthusiast randomly interviewed 45 Major League Baseball players. He asked each of the 45 players, how many bats do you destroy in a season? So the average number was 90 and the margin of error was 5 bats. Another baseball enthusiast intends to duplicate the survey with a smaller margin of error. So to get a smaller margin of error, we need a larger sample size. And that would be, we have to stay with the major league. So we're going to go for C for that one. So that's probably good for all of you. So a couple book problems, because I think the one I have that is odd, we have it in our packet, which we did first, and then they put it in this book. So let's first do 267. The grade problem. It's in a gray box. So a quality control researcher at an electronics company is testing the life of the company's batteries. The researcher selects 100 batteries at random from the daily output of the batteries and finds the life of the batteries has 342 pictures with an associated margin of error. So I'm going to add it and then subtract it. So it's going to be between 342 and 360. We can't say all the batteries. So
Yeah, maybe just tell, maybe this is a blanket warning for watch out for words like all or exactly.
with statistics, yes.
Because you can never
Right,
know exactly, or all.
yes. And
It's
so,
always an approximation.
so we can jump to all the batteries ever produced by the company in D. So the answer for this one would be C. I'm assuming you're all good at that one. Okay, and then let's go to page 269. Just to cover all these. Okay. So a community center offers a Spanish course. This year, all students in the course were offered additional audio lessons that they could take at home. The students who took these additional audio lessons did better in the course than students who didn't take the audio lessons. Now, we can't, in statistics, we can't judge cause.
Correlation does not equal causation.
Yeah. All right, so correlation
Two correlation.
does not equal
Causation.
causation. So the answer has to be D. And so I wanted to do one more. Okay, let's go to 275. Number 12. The results of two random samples of votes for a proposition are shown. The samples were selected from the same population and the margins of error were calculated using the same method. Which of the following is the most appropriate reason? Why would sample A have a greater margin of error? Because, does everybody see, it would be D, because A has a smaller sample size. Does that make sense? Zoe Latham, does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Okay, Zoe Robson
Yeah.
and Addie. Okay, now, there is a page at the end, but I don't think you guys have it. We just covered this exact problem, which is.
Yeah, let me just ask him, was the final page the one about the baseball people?
Okay, was your final page, Addie, about the baseball people, or do you have another page?
You can't answer you.
Oh, she can't answer me. She has another page, I think.
Or see if
Zoe Robson, you probably don't have an extra page, do you?
No.
Zoe Latham, no. Okay, so I'm gonna write this out for you and then we're gonna do it. We already did the second problem, so. Okay, a data set. I'm sorry about my handwriting of 27 different numbers. Has a mean of 33 and a median of 33. A new data set. I can write better on a flat surface, guys, but a new data.
They can hear you too, that helps.
A new data set is created. I just want to do enough that you ace all these 6 questions or 60 points on your test. Is created by adding 7 to each number greater than the median and subtracting 7. I'm sorry, this handwriting, I feel so bad. From any number less than the median. which of the following does not have the same value in both data sets? And so here's what they give you. They give you A, median, B, mean, C, sum of all the numbers, or D, standard deviation. Okay, so we know it's not going to be the median, right? Because these are the same. So these two are going to stay the same. So it's either the sum of the numbers or the SD. So the sum of the numbers will be the same because if I add 7 and I have 40 here, and I subtract 7 here, these will counter each other. They'll be additive inverses, but the standard deviation is going to be drastically different. Is that good for you, Zoe Robson?
Yeah.
Okay, and Zoe Latham
Yeah.
and Addie, you're good? Just nod your head, honey. Okay. So now our last problem. Okay, this concludes. You won't have to hear me again, but I'll be praying for you on Saturday in a good way. Those of you taking the test. Okay, so some of you don't have this problem. So this is the data set. There's group A. You'll need a calculator for this. And group B. There's 2 questions with this. So some problems have 2 questions. So our scores go from 2, 3, 4.
Can you like make that a score category so they know that's the score? You just
Yeah.
write score at the top, yes.
Score. And then, so group A has 1 that's a 2, 1 that's a 3, 2 that's a 4, 1 that's a 5, 3 that's a 6, 0, that's a 3, I'm sorry. 8 is a 0, 9 is a 1, and 10 is a 0.
Can you write like frequency here so they know?
Yeah. I'm sorry.
And then, yeah, group B.
So there's 0, 0, 0, 5, there's
Yeah, 4 or 5.
and I'm sorry, I just want to do this last problem and then. Okay, so we want to know the median. We'll do this one first. The median of group A.
Can you put the totals down for each one as well, just so they know how many there were? Maybe write total, so they know that's the total. Okay, good, that looks good.
So the median of group A is how much greater?
Are you doing the mean or the median one?
The median, the top one.
Okay, well, you wrote, or you said mean, but you're,
The median of group A is how much greater than the median.
group B, right? You said the median of group B is how much greater than the median of group A.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can write those out, take your time. And then we'll go over it. So we want the median of A and the median of B. Ah, right on the surface. So I can't see the Zoe's, but Addie's still a little bit working, so we'll give you a second. Okay. Addie, did you get one? Yes. Okay, Zoe Robson, did you get one?
Yeah.
And Zoe Latham?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
So keep all the data.
I know, I'm gonna keep all the data and I'm gonna help you with another problem. These come in twos. So sometimes if you hit a problem, you don't know it's referring to the other one. So here's the same data set. Okay, and I'll just do this one. The mean of set A is 5. Bless you. And the mean of set B is 7. What's the mean of all of the numbers? So we can go back to what we did before using our average formula because mean just means average. So the average of A, we would have, so it's 5 and there's 9 terms. So the sum of A, we don't even have to take the time to do it. It would just be 45 from what we did earlier in the hour. And so the average of B, we know that the average of B is 7, sorry. And we have 11 numbers, so that's 77. So we just take A and B, 45 plus 77 divided by 20 numbers, because I just added 9 and 11. And that would equal 122 divided by 20, which is about exactly 6.1. So our answer for that one, put it in black, is 6.1. Thank you, College Board, for 10 points. So can you see, instead of doing all these frequencies, you could just do what we did earlier and save yourself a lot of time. So what I would suggest on the math for you guys taking the test on Saturday, look at the last 5 math problems. When you get to that part of the test, just scroll through them. And the ones that you know you can do quickly and efficiently that you've seen before, do those first and then save the harder ones to the end. Okay, so let me ask about this problem. So Addie, do you understand this last one? Yes, Zoe Latham.
Yeah.
Okay, Zoe Robson.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna be thinking about you guys and
You mind putting down,
break.
yeah.
Okay. Okay.
break. So back at 6:57.
Okay. Okay, so use the restroom, get a drink. And blessings, guys, on the test for Zoe Latham and Addie. Let me know how you do, sweetheart, okay? All right. It'll keep me going. All right, thank you.
All right, so we should be back from our break. Give everyone a moment to get back. What was that? All right, so if you guys would just let me know if you're back from the break, that'd be great.
I'm back.
Zoe Robson's back.
I'm back.
Zoe Latham's back. All right. I can't see Addie at the moment, but I'm assuming she's back. So this is just from your book on page 550. So we've actually covered all of the English on the SAT. So I think we're just going to do a little bit of review. And these concepts are also yeah, these concepts are on the SAT. They're on the ACT. ACT has reading comprehension, grammar. It's pretty similar. So we're just going to do a little bit of review from the book. And so this is page 550 in the blue book. So we're just going to do a little bit of English review. So we'll get started here. All right. This here. Okay, so this is just from the blue book, page 550. Make a note of that here. I know it's kind of hard to write on this tablet, so bear with me. Okay, so the test goes easy to hard. And what we're looking at here are 4 sentence completions. And these are on both tests. So it's really just fill in the blank. You can always read the words back into the sentence. So I would actually encourage that as a strategy. So we're just going to try these 4. Take about 4 minutes just try this page. It's just reading, you're just reading the words back in to the sentence or the phrases back into the sentence. One of them will make sense. 3 of them will produce gibberish. So just select your answer for these and we'll go over these in about 4 minutes or so. Try to stick to about a minute per question if you can for the English. I know it can be tricky too, but that's sort of the time frame that you're looking at. So try these 4 and we'll go over them in about 4 minutes. All right, it's been about 4 minutes, so I'm going to assume all of you have tried these 4. I did want to mention, though, as we work on these, keep track of how many you miss. I think it's important to keep that in mind. We'll tally them all up at the end. So if you legitimately make an error, just mark it. It's fine. But yeah, let's start with the first one here. All right, so they go easy to hard, so this one should be relatively easy. Although critics believe the customers would never agree to pay to pick their own produce on farms, such concerns didn't blank Booker T. Whatley's efforts to promote the practice. Thanks in part to Whatley's determined advocacy, farms that allow visitors to pick their own apples, pumpkins, and other produce can be found throughout the US. So we just need to pick the word that fits best in this sentence. So just read the words back in. One of them will make perfect sense and the other ones won't. That's just the name of the game for these sentence completions. So I'm going to try enhance. I'm just going to consider it. If it seems to work, we'll pick it. Maybe try the other ones first, but if it doesn't make any sense, we'll just cross it off. Although critics believe the customers would never agree to pay to pick their own produce on farms, such concerns didn't enhance Booker T. Whatley's efforts to promote the practice. So that doesn't make much sense. I'm going to cross off A. Let's try hinder. Maybe hinder makes more sense here. Although critics believe the customers would never agree to pay to pick their own produce on farms, such concerns didn't hinder Booker T. Whatley's efforts to promote the practice. And this one makes perfect sense, especially considering that we know later on in the passage, thanks to Whatley's advocacy, farms such as this exist all over the US. And if we read misrepresent or if we read aggravate back into the sentence, it wouldn't make any sense. Such concerns didn't aggravate Booker T. Whatley's efforts makes no sense. So even if you read C or D into the sentence, they wouldn't work. Only B makes logical sense. So they're starting easy, but they are going to get a little bit harder. But I just want to cover just sort of everything you might see on Saturday for Zoe and Addie, who you know, the ones who are taking this digital SAT this weekend. And there is reading comprehension, and there are grammar questions on the ACT too. So we're going to get to some of those in a minute, but we'll start with the sentence completions. All right. So number 2, the artisans of the Igun Aramwan Guild in Benin City, Nigeria, typically blank the bronze and brass casting techniques that have been passed down through their families since the 13th century, but they don't strictly observe every tradition. For example, guild members now use air conditioning motors instead of handheld bellows to help heat their forges. All right, so we could try just reading the words back into the sentence, but I highlighted part of the sentence that I think should actually influence our answer. So they typically do adhere to the techniques that have been passed down, but not always. So typically they do, which would be answer choice B. Typically they adhere to these ancient techniques. These techniques have been passed down through the centuries, but they don't always observe every tradition. So I think that's important. If you were reading this kind of quickly, you might miss the portion that I highlighted, but that indicates that they typically do adhere to past tradition, but not always. So as long as you spotted that part that I highlighted in yellow, you probably got this one correct. All right, on to number 3. So they're still pretty easy, not too hard yet. All right, number 3. Set in a world where science fiction tropes exist as everyday realities, Charles Yu's 2010 novel, How to Live Safely in a Science Fictional Universe, traces a time traveler's quest to find his father. Because the journey at the novel's center is so blank, with the protagonist ricocheting chaotically across time, the reader often wonders whether the pair will ever be reunited. Okay, so we could read the words back into the sentence, and I think an important part of this one is this right here. The protagonist is the main character, and the main character is ricocheting chaotically across time. I think those words sort of inform which answer choice we should select. I'm going to read the answer choice A back in the sentence. I'm just going to read haphazard in and see if it makes sense. Because the journey at the novel center is so haphazard, with the protagonist ricocheting chaotically across time, the reader often wonders whether the pair will ever be reunited. And that answer choice actually made the most sense. So watch out for antonyms. Answer choice B is an antonym. This is the opposite of the word that we needed. This means the opposite of the word haphazard. If something is premeditated, it's planned ahead of time, but that doesn't go with this idea of ricocheting chaotically across time. That to me sounds like it isn't premeditated. That sounds like a haphazard journey, which was answer choice A, the correct one. We know nothing of the inspirational qualities of this journey. So C is out. And I don't know that the journey was fruitless. If the journey is fruitless, the protagonist is never reunited with his father, but we don't know that. So D is out. I don't know if his journey was fruitless or not. We can't possibly know based on the shortness of this passage. So the best answer for this one is A, haphazard. So they're testing you a little bit of a vocabulary, and they consider these to be tier 2 words. They believe that you should know haphazard means unplanned, sort of off the cuff. All right, number 4. All right, it looks like a science passage. So in a 2019 study, Jeremy Gunawardena and colleagues found that the single-celled protozoan Stentor roselli not only uses strategies to escape irritating stimuli, but also switches strategies when one fails. This evidence of protozoans sophistically changing their minds demonstrates that single-celled organisms may not be limited to blank behaviors. Okay, so we could try reading the words back into the sentence. All right. And if you did that strategy, you could read aggressive in there. We don't know anything really about their aggression. We do know that they can utilize different strategies when one fails. So for this one, rudimentary is the correct answer. I'm going to read the correct answer back in the sentence. All right, so these are single-celled organisms, but surprisingly, they can utilize multiple strategies to escape irritating stimuli. So even though they are single-celled organisms, they may not be as rudimentary as we thought. This evidence of protozoans sophistically changing their minds demonstrates that single-celled organisms may not be limited to rudimentary behaviors. All right, and if we read evolving or advantageous back in the sentence, those answers would not make sense either. So just keep track of how many you missed. If you got the first 4 right, that's great. But we're going to keep going. They will get harder as we go. All right, so now we've reached the next page. I'm just going to look at the types of questions that we have on this page. All right, so it looks like we have a synonym question. Yeah, it looks like we have a few synonym questions. And then we have some main idea questions. I would consider this one to be a main idea question, number 7. Make a note of that, main idea. And then question 8 tells you they want the main idea. So try these 4. Just try this whole page. Take another 4 or 5 minutes. Try this whole page, and we will go over them in a few minutes and keep track of how many you miss as we go. But this is mostly just review for today. So give these 4 a shot. I'll give you guys some time, and we'll go over them together in a few moments. All right, so it's been a few minutes. If you're still working on the last one on this page, that's fine too. I am going to start going over these just to get some review in before Saturday. So now we are looking for, oh, it's another sentence completion. Okay, so sentence completion. Some economic historians blanked that late 19th and early 20th century households in the US experienced an economy of scale when it came to food purchases. They assumed that large households spent less on food per person than did small households. Economist Trevor Logan showed, however, that a close look at the available data disproves this supposition. Okay, so we have some answer choices here. We can read them back into the sentence. I'm just going to try contrived. Some economic historians contrived that late 19th and early 20th century households in the US experienced an economy of scale when it came to food purchases. And that doesn't make any sense. Historians shouldn't be contriving anything. Right? They're researching history. They're not making it up as they go along. They really shouldn't be contriving anything or fabricating anything. The correct answer for this one would be surmised. Some economic historians surmised that late 19th and early 20th century households in the US experienced an economy of scale when it came to food purchases, but it turns out they were incorrect. So you can always read the words back in the sentence. Regretted would make no sense. All right, on to the next question. Okay, so you may see an excerpt from a play on Saturday if you're taking the digital SAT. All right, so here we have a tiny little excerpt from a play, and they ask us, what does this word answers most nearly mean based on the play? All right, so this is a play, Rossum's Universal Robots. Fabry and Busman are telling Miss Glory why their company manufactures robots. All right, Fabry. One robot can replace 2.5 workmen. The human machine, Miss Glory, was terribly imperfect. It had to be removed sooner or later. Busman. It was too expensive. Fabry. It was not effective. It no longer answers the requirements of modern engineering. Nature has no idea of keeping pace with modern labor. All right, so here we have some answer choices. I would just read them back in the sentence to see what works. And they're just playing around with different dictionary definitions for the word that is underlined. So when we think of answers, we most often think of explanations. Answer, you know, if I want an answer, I want an explanation. We would think typically this is probably something like answer choice A, but they are playing around with different dictionary definitions for the word answer, the verb to answer. And this is not a typical definition for this word. It's not A, but let me read A back in the sentence and you'll see why it doesn't fit. But this is sort of why I like reading the words back into the sentence, because this is a more obscure definition for this word. You know, if you're picking up a dictionary and you look up the word to answer in the dictionary, this would probably be the first definition. To answer is to explain something. But the correct answer for this one is probably, you know how they number the dictionary definitions by usage? The less frequent the usage of the word, the higher the number. This would probably be like the 6th definition for this word answer. I'm gonna read explains in there, and it shouldn't make sense. It was not effective. It no longer explains the requirements of modern engineering, and that doesn't fit. So that's the typical definition for this word. Now I'm going to read, if we picked up a dictionary, this would probably be like the 6th definition for this word. This is a more obscure meaning for this word, but I'm sure it is in the dictionary. To answer something could mean to fulfill it. All right, so here's the correct version. I'm just going to read it back in the sentence. So we're talking about humans. It was not effective. It no longer fulfills the requirements of modern engineering. And that makes perfect sense. This would be a more rare definition for this word, but I'm sure if we did pick up a dictionary, and I know you can't smuggle a dictionary into the SAT. That's why I like this strategy in lieu of that. Just read the words back into the sentence. One of them will make perfect sense. And if we read rebuts or defends back into the sentence, those would not fit either. Fulfills makes the most sense here, but this is not a typical definition for this word. Typically, when we think of answers, we think of explanations, but that was the wrong answer. So just watch out for seldom used meanings. They still count. So that one was D. All right, on to a science passage. We're looking at number 7 now. And I consider this to be a main idea question. I think I jotted a note down about that. So I'm going to read about this experiment. And we can only go with what's in this passage. We can't extrapolate with our own knowledge. So we just have to go with what's in here. All right, in 2014, Amelia Kwan and her team at NASA set out to build a helicopter capable of flying on Mars. Because Mars's atmosphere is only 1% as dense as Earth's, the air of Mars would not provide enough resistance to the rotating blades of a standard helicopter for the aircraft to stay aloft. And I think that that's important enough that I would highlight this or underline it. Remember that if you're using the Blue Book testing software, you can highlight or underline portions of the question. And I would probably do that here. All right, I'd probably underline or highlight that little part. For 5 years, Kwan's team tested designs in a lab that mimicked Mars's atmospheric conditions. The craft the team ultimately designed can fly on Mars because its blades are longer and rotate faster than those of a helicopter of the same size built for Earth. According to the text, why would a helicopter built for Earth be unable to fly on Mars? All right, so I highlighted portion of the question, which should probably indicate an answer at this point, but I'm going to look at some of the wrong answers first. All right, let's look at answer choice B. Would it be because the blades of helicopters built for Earth are too large to work on Mars? That's actually backwards. I learned that the helicopter that can fly on Mars has longer blades and they rotate faster. So B has it backwards. They'd actually be larger or longer. All right. C. Pretend that we know nothing about the gravity on Mars. Seriously, that's what I meant earlier by don't fill in the blanks. Just go with what's in the passage. We can't extrapolate using our knowledge of Mars's gravity. This passage never mentions the gravity on Mars. So C is out. The passage never makes this claim. All right, let's look at the right answer, which was A. It has to do with the Martian atmosphere. The correct answer, why would a helicopter built on Earth be unable to fly on Mars? Well, it's because Mars and Earth have different atmospheric conditions. Notice that the passage doesn't mention gravity. So don't use your own knowledge here to try to fill in the blanks. We can only go with what the author tells us. And the author says that it's because of A. They have different atmospheres. So the Martian atmosphere is less dense, hence the longer blades that rotate faster. So that was a little science passage. On to 8. All right. In West Africa, Jollies, I don't know how to pronounce this. I'm just going to go with Jollies, I guess. I'm doing my best here. Jollies have traditionally been keepers of information about family histories and records of important events. They have often served as teachers and advisors too. New technologies may have changed some aspects of the role today, but Jollies continue to be valued for knowing and protecting their people's stories. So I did underline portions of this question just so I wouldn't make a mistake. I said that, okay, they're keepers of information, they're teachers and advisors, and ultimately they know and protect the people's stories. So that gives us an idea of what their roles are. Do I know that they like teaching best? Perhaps. I can't possibly know that. Passage never indicates which role they prefer the best. I mean, I know that they are teachers, but I don't know that they like that best necessarily. It's going too far. Okay. Not in the passage. C, I'm just considering some of the answers. Do I know that they have been entertaining the people for centuries? Does the passage claim that they're entertainers? We can't infer that they are. They never make that claim. They're keepers of information, they are teachers, they are advisors. I'm gonna cross it off. C goes too far as well. And I know you may say to yourself, well, if they're keepers of information and if they're teachers, surely they entertain a little on the side. We can't put that down. We don't know that. Okay. And we're looking for a main idea. And I've said before, when they're asking you about the main idea of the passage, watch out for a detail. They don't want a detail. Answer choice D is a detail. This is in the passage. This information about new technologies, but that's not the big picture. The big picture would be A, even though there have been some changes in their role, Yali's continue to preserve their community's histories. That was this part. Knowing and protecting their people's stories. So just watch out if you're taking this test on Saturday and you're reading the answer choices and they want to know about the main idea, don't select a detail. And this is a prime example of a detail. It's true. It's factually true according to the passage. I know the technology can now do some of the things Yali's used to be responsible for. But that's not the main idea of this text. That's really just a detail. So watch out for main idea versus detail. All right, so we've already done 8 questions, so keep track of how many you miss. Hopefully you're not missing too many of these because they will probably get harder as we go through this module. All right, we are on to the next page. All right, so just try 9 and 10. Take about 2 minutes just to try these two. I think working a page at a time sort of makes sense for these. So it looks like we have another main idea question here. And then for number 10, we have to correctly select a quote that most effectively illustrates a claim. So try these two, take about 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes, and then we will go over these two together. All right, I think it's been a couple minutes. So we're gonna go over these ones. I'm not sure if they're getting that much harder yet. This 9 still seems pretty easy, but oh well, I'm gonna read the question, then we can pick an answer. All right, the following text. Oh, yeah. I want to, before we get too far, always read this. Just draw a little arrow. They always tell you when you're doing something that's from a book like Souls of Black Folk, or in this case, The Call of the Wild, they'll always tell you where they from where the passage is derived. So always read this, because if you didn't read this, you might have missed this part about Buck being a sled dog. And yeah, by the time that you're reading the passage and people are petting the dog, you probably realize it's a dog, but just read this. It's not a waste of time to read this, because they always tell you, they always give you like a sentence and just tell you generally what's going on. So we learned that Buck is a sled dog living with John Thornton in Yukon, Canada. All right, so I'm going to read the passage. Thornton alone held Buck. The rest of mankind was as nothing. And I highlighted that because I think that that should indicate an answer. Chance travelers might praise or pet him, but he was cold under it all, and from a too demonstrative man, he would get up and walk away. When Thornton's partners, Hans and Pete, arrived on the long-expected raft, Buck refused to notice them till he learned they were close to Thornton. After that, he tolerated them in a passive sort of way, accepting favors from them as though he favored them by accepting. All right, I'm going to go through some of the answers, and if it seems like it's not the main idea of the passage, we'll just cross it off. So make sure that it's something that the passage actually does claim and that's important if it's a main idea. And if it's incorrect, we'll just cross it off. And if it seems to be a detail, if it seems like we're entering the realm of minutia, we'll just cross that off because we want the main idea. We don't want minutia. All right, Buck has become less social since he began living with Thornton. We don't know that. Passage never makes that claim. I'm going to cross it off. I mean, we understand a little bit about how this dog interacts with others, but we never learn that he has become less social since he began living with Thornton. The passage just doesn't make that claim. Buck mistrusts humans and does his best to avoid them. I don't know that answer choice B is correct. Actually, if anything, it seems as if Buck is aloof. Buck refused to notice them, Hans and Pete. He refuses to notice them at all, right, until he learns that they're close to Thornton. So I don't know that he mistrusts them. It just seems like he is aloof. I'm going to cross that one off. Buck has been especially well liked by most of Thornton's friends. I would hyphenate well liked. Come on, College Board. Hyphenate this. It kills me. Well liked. All right, I would hyphenate that. Anyway, Buck has been especially well liked by most of Thornton's friends. We don't know that. The correct answer for this one is D. We do know that Buck holds Thornton in higher regard than any other person. I highlighted why I think that is. The rest of mankind was as nothing. Buck likes Thornton. All right, on to the next one. That one I think is a little easier than I thought would be for a number 9. All right, on to another passage from a book. This one is from the Souls of Black Folk. All right, and they always give you little clues in the question about what quotation that they want from this book. And we can assume that all these quotes are actually from the book. They're not trying to pull a fast one on you and say, ha, you never read the book. They know that none of us have ever read this book. Yeah, W.E.B. Du Bois, great poet, by the way. All right, in the book, Du Bois suggests that upon hearing Black folk songs, he felt an intuitive and sometimes unexpected sense of cultural recognition. Which quotation from the Souls of Black Folk most effectively illustrates the claim? And I highlighted and underlined little portions of this question because I think that me doing that basically solved this question. I'm just telling you, only one of these answer choices is going to explain how Du Bois himself felt. He felt an intuitive and unexpected sense of cultural recognition. That means I'm looking for the personal pronoun I. I think that whichever quote I'm going to pick, Du Bois is going to talk about himself in his own experience in his explanation. All right, I'm just going to go through some of these answer choices. Does Du Bois mention his own experience in answer choice A? Black folk music still remains as the singular spiritual heritage of the nation and the greatest gift of the Negro people. No. Du Bois does not mention himself in his own personal experience. Let's look at the next one. All right. Ever since I was a child, I was looking for that. Ever since I was a child, these songs have stirred me strangely. All right, well, there's an unexpected part right there. They came out of the South unknown to me, one by one, and yet at once I knew them as of me and of mine. So that means that it's intuitive. This is the correct answer. We could put this quote right here and it would make perfect sense. The other quotes would not fit because they don't explain how he himself, how Du Bois felt. I needed this personal pronoun I. It's the only one that mentions it. The other ones are very general. They don't explain his own personal experiences. C or D are out. All right. On to the next question, number 11. So we're making good progress here. And here we have a graph. All right. Yeah, it looks like we have a few on this page. Just try the next three. So now we're getting a bar graph. So you're gonna have to utilize that for question 11. And then it looks like we have a sentence completion. Yeah, we're just trying to complete the text logically with those next two. All right, so try this whole page. Take about 3 minutes and we will go over it together. All right, it's been about 3 minutes, I think. All right, so I'm going to start with the infographic. So we'll look at question 11. I like to read the titles of these infographics, and I always like to read the Y and the X axes. And in this case, we also have a little key down here. Oh, I still have the highlighter on. Just trying to write key. So make sure you understand the key, make sure you understand the X, make sure you understand the Y, but I'm just going to read what it is right now. It says percentage of Ondo Estate small scale farmers who are female by main crop grown. It looks like those are the crops down there. Our y-axis is female farmers as a percentage of total. And then the X would be these three regions: North Ondo, Central Ondo, South Ondo. So I like to just get a sense for what is going on even before I start answering the question. Because just based on the idea that these are female farmers and just sort of what's going on, I'm already interested in these bars. Do you see why I may be interested in the crop type in areas where a majority of the farmers are women? And I haven't even read this question yet, but I'm already kind of suspicious about these two bars in particular. All right, now that we've read that, let's look at the actual question. I'm going to read it, and then we have to figure out which answer choice uses data from the graph to complete the example. Geographer Adebayo, oh, I'm just going to do my best with these names. Adebayo Uluwol Eludoyin and his colleagues surveyed small-scale farmers in 3 locations in Ondo State, Nigeria, which has mountainous terrain in the north, an urbanized center, and coastal terrain in the south, to learn more about their practices, like the types of crops they mainly cultivated. All right. In some regions, female farmers were found to be especially prominent in the cultivation of specific types of crops, and even constituted the majority of farmers who cultivated those crops. For instance, all right, I think we basically just need those bars that I referred to already. All right, so I'm going to go through some of these answer choices, and I just want to just mention something here. So if they give an answer choice, and if something is true and false, it's false. They both have to be true for this to be true. So I'll just give you an example of what I'm talking about. Let's look at A. Most of the farmers who mainly cultivated cereals and most of the farmers who mainly cultivated non-root vegetables in South Ondo were women. All right, so now I know I'm in South Ondo. So I'm looking at this part of our graph. All right. Most of the farmers who mainly cultivated cereals, that's right here, and most of the farmers who mainly cultivated non-root vegetables, which is here, in South Ondo were women. So no for the cereals, yes for the non-root vegetables. So if something is true and false, it's false. A is out. They both have to be true. All right, let's look at another one. More women in Central Ondo mainly cultivated root crops than mainly cultivated cereals. So now I'm in Central Ondo. Do more women in Central Ondo mainly cultivate root crops? That's this. I'm going to say no. B is out. Let's look at another one. A relatively equal proportion of women across the 3 regions of Ondo mainly cultivated cereals. But I'm not, okay, let me look at the data here. I'm looking at cereals for all 3 regions. Are we saying that, okay, it's between like 30, 35%? It's roughly in the 30%. But does that support our supposition? Does that have anything to do with a majority of the farmers cultivating crops? We're below a majority. I'm interested in these ones. I'm interested in where the females are the main grower of the crops. So let's look at the right answer, which was C. Most of the farmers who mainly cultivated non-root vegetables in North and South Ondo were women. Okay. So not too bad. Can you read a basic graph? All right, we're on to this next one. They're asking us a little bit about literature, I guess. Scholars have noted that F. Scott Fitzgerald's writings were likely influenced in part by his marriage to Zelda Fitzgerald, but many don't recognize Zelda as a writer in her own right. I highlighted that. I think that indicates an answer. you can highlight and underline portions of the test in Blue Book. You just do it. It's a good strategy, I think. I'm finding it useful just doing them here with you. You'll probably find it useful on Saturday. All right. Indeed, Zelda authored several works herself, such as the novels Save Me the Waltz and numerous short stories. Thus, those who primarily view Zelda as an inspiration for F. Scott's writings risk misrepresenting the full range of Zelda's contributions to literature. That's the right answer for this one. We're missing out on the novel. We're missing out on the short stories because she was a writer in her own right. So that was the right answer for this one. On to a little science passage here at the bottom. All right, so I'm going to read about the herbivorous sauropod dinosaurs. All right. Moving right along here, getting right through this test. Herbivorous sauropod dinosaurs could grow more than 100 feet long and weigh up to 80 tons, and some researchers have attributed the evolution of sauropods to such massive sizes to increased plant production resulting from high levels of atmospheric CO2 during the Mesozoic era. However, there is no evidence of significant spikes in carbon dioxide levels coinciding with relevant periods in sauropod evolution, such as when the first large sauropods appeared, when several sauropod lineages underwent further evolution toward gigantism, or when sauropods reached their maximum known sizes, suggesting what? So we need to logically complete this text. Does this suggest that fluctuations in atmospheric carbon dioxide affect the different sauropod lineages differently? We actually don't know that. The passage never makes that claim. I can't infer that from the passage. All right. Let's look at another wrong answer. I highlighted a portion of D because to me it sounded extremely hypothetical. And if you see something on the digital SAT that sounds incredibly hypothetical, like we couldn't possibly ever determine the information, just cross it off. All right, here's the really hypothetical answer. Do we know based on this passage this? When several sauropod lineages underwent further evolution toward gigantism, or when sauropods reached their maximum known size, does this suggest that sauropods probably would not have evolved to such immense sizes if atmospheric, that's a lot of ifs, if atmospheric carbon dioxide had been even slightly higher? We're going super hypothetical here. We can't possibly know this information. And the passage never makes this claim, this really, really hypothetical claim. The correct answer would actually be B for this one. It seems as if the scientists were perhaps even mistaken. What we learn is the evolution of larger body sizes in sauropods did not depend on increased atmospheric carbon dioxide. It seems as if their original supposition is incorrect. It's a pretty big buildup, but it's important to realize there's no evidence of significant spikes in carbon dioxide levels at these other portions of sauropod evolution. And we would be able to see this. We would be able to see this in the fossil record. So, such as when large sauropods appeared, we would expect to see that if this were a factor. When several sauropod lineages underwent further evolution toward gigantism, we would expect to see that. We would expect to see that as a factor, but we don't. Or when sauropods reach their maximum known sizes. So it turns out, it seems as if the scientists, their initial supposition is incorrect. And it turns out, hey, the evolution of larger body sizes in sauropods did not depend on the increased atmospheric carbon dioxide. I mean, scientists, they have mistaken hypotheses all the time. All right, moving on to the next one. Keep track of how many you miss. Hopefully, I mean, we're gearing up for this Saturday test. So hopefully at this point, you're not missing many of these, but you still may be missing some of them. I mean, that's why we're going over them. And now we're on to grammar. All right. So there is grammar on the ACT as well as the SAT, and they both look basically like this. They're so similar. So I know that I've reached the grammar questions because they're asking me about the conventions of standard English. So once you start seeing that, just think grammar. They're going to test you on semicolons. They're going to test you on colons. They're going to test you on commas. They're going to test you on run-ons. Looks like a run-on maybe. They're going to test you on punctuation. They're going to test you on possession. Like that one. All right. Maybe another run-on. They really like run-ons. They like run-ons. They like sentence fragments. Both tests. Let's see what else we have. Ooh, it looks like we have hence. I'm just glancing at these because I'm kind of just curious what we're looking at here. Oh, it looks like maybe that's a non-restrictive clause for number 19. Looks like another tense question. Tense just indicates when something happens. Is it present tense? Is it past tense? Oh, transitional words and phrases. We did those last week. Okay. And okay, yeah, so it looks like up to question 21, we're just looking at the grammar. So let's do both pages. Let's do from 14 to 19. We're just going to do all the grammar. Yeah, sorry, 14 through 21. Oh wait, no, that's a okay. That's a transition question. But let's go all the way to 21. Let's do that one too. So let's do all of the grammar questions and then one question on transitional words and phrases. So let's try these. How much time should I give you? Take about 8 minutes. All right, I'm gonna keep track of the time, so don't worry about the time. I'll just start when it's been 8 minutes. Just try all of these grammar questions, one transition question. We will go over all of these in a few moments. Okay, it's been about 8 minutes, so we're going to start going over these questions. All right. So I'm going to read the first one, which is question 14. And I have a test that I've created for unnecessary punctuation. So any type of punctuation is going to create a pause in your sentence. Anything, commas are relatively commas create a relatively short pause in your sentence, and longer pauses will be created by colons, em dashes, periods, obviously. But any type of punctuation at all will create a pause. I promise you. It's the function of punctuation. So I've created what I've been calling a stutter strategy in order to determine if you have unnecessary punctuation. And this is just something I created, something I came up with. Like Mrs. Hessler can say that, if you have a lower standard deviation, that means your data is more shaped like a nose. She has her own crazy ways of remembering things. And this is sort of my method, but it works. I swear to you, if you look at an SAT, if you look at an ACT, and if you utilize the stutter strategy, you will instantly know whether that punctuation belongs there or not. So the strategy is to just give a really healthy pause anytime you see an em dash, anytime you see a colon, a comma, and then read it without the pause, which would be answer choice D. Just go right into the next word. Don't even pause at all. So I'm going to try to really exaggerate the pause and try it with me. You'll see that this stutter strategy does work. So the idea is really just if a natural English speaker, if a naturally born English speaker were to read this sentence, would he or she pause there? That's all we're trying to determine. And if there be no pause, you know what? We didn't need any punctuation at all. I promise you that this works. I'm going to try to really exaggerate the pause. Let's see if it fits. Let's see if it seems like a stutter, something that wouldn't naturally be there. Known for her massive photorealistic paintings of African American figures floating or swimming in pools, Kalida Garcia Rawls was the logical choice to design the book cover for Ta-Nehisi Coates' The Water Dancer, a novel about an African American man who could travel great distances through water. All right, so that was with an exaggerated pause. Now I'm going to read it without any pause at all, and let's see if this makes more sense or if this is how a native speaker would actually read this. Here we go. Known for her massive photorealistic paintings of African American figures floating or swimming in pools, Kalida Garcia Rawls was the logical choice to design the book cover for Ta-Nehisi Coates' The Water Dancer. Do you see how there's no pause that belongs there at all? And I don't even need to explain to you any type of punctuation rule because they're just testing you on unnecessary punctuation. There was never supposed to be any punctuation there at all. And the best way I've determined to see if punctuation is necessary is just read it. Read a nice healthy pause in that right where it goes, and you'll see that A makes no sense, B makes no sense, C makes no sense. A native speaker would never pause here because no punctuation should exist here. I love this strategy just because it really streamlines these unnecessary punctuation questions. It makes you might be trying to remember, okay, what's the rule for a colon? What's the rule for an em dash? Where do commas go? The clock is ticking. Just read a pause in there. You'll instantly know that, hey, there was no pause. Answer choice D. I'm on to the next question. So that's just something I came up with. I've just been calling it the stutter strategy. I think there would be some other ones in this section that we're going to use this strategy on. So just try it. I think it's the best way I've come up with to determine whether or not punctuation belongs somewhere. Just see if a native speaker would pause there or not. You'll instantly know if there is punctuation or not. All right, next they're going to test us on run-ons. I could tell that they're testing me on run-ons because answer choice B is a run-on. And answer choice A is still a run-on. It's a comma splice run-on. All right, so we probably don't want A or B. We probably don't want run-on sentences. All right, here I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me read the paragraph and then we'll determine whether it's C or D. In 2010, archaeologist Noel Hidalgo Tan was visiting the 12th century temple of Angkor Wat in Cambodia when he noticed markings of red paint on the temple walls. With the help of digital imaging techniques, he discovered the markings to be part of an elaborate mural containing over 200 paintings. So a run-on sentence occurs whenever we have two independent clauses, two things that could each be a sentence, just smushed together. And we can't do that. That's answer choice B. Well, that would be a run-on sentence. And a common impulse, it's just a common thing that students do. They try to correct the run-on sentence by putting a comma in between the two independent clauses. Commas are great punctuation. I love commas. They are relatively weak punctuation. A comma is not strong enough to join two independent clauses. What we should do is create two different sentences, which would be answer choice D. So that's the correct version. There are a number of ways we can correct a run-on. You can use a conjunction. You can create a coordinate clause. If you want to use a subordinating conjunction, you could create a subordinate clause. We could throw a semicolon in there if that is presented as an option. Semicolons often join two independent clauses that are related or contrast one another. But here it looks like we're just making two separate sentences. So not too bad for answer choice D. Watch out for run-ons. On to the next one where they're testing us on possession. I can tell they're testing us on possession because of all of these apostrophe S's. I could tell this is a possession question. Okay, so keep in mind how possession works in English. Maybe I'll just make a quick note of this. So if we have a single entity, Grant, and he possesses something, maybe a tomb, we would do an apostrophe S, Grant's tomb. All right, so that's one individual. That's possession with one person. What if we have many people named Grant? Maybe it's a family of Grants buried in the same plot. The apostrophe would actually follow the S. That means that many people are buried in this tomb. They're all named Grant, Grant's tomb. All right, so that's just a quick review of how possession works. Let's look at what we have here in this sentence. Okay. Cheng Dong and her colleagues at the University of Washington recently ran simulations to determine the extent to which individual snow grains' physical properties affect the amount of light reflecting off a snowy surface. Okay, so do we have one single grain that is possessing something, physical properties? Do we have many grains that are possessing something, physical properties? And then we have the ridiculous answer choices. You're never going to see something like answer choice A in English. You're never going to see something have possession of something else that also has possession. It just does not occur. You're never going to see that. You'll never see that anywhere. And same thing with answer choice C. Here we have many grains possessing something that also has possession. English doesn't work that way. You'll never see that ever. Okay. So do we need an apostrophe after grains so that grains has possession of physical properties? Or is it just D, no possession anywhere? Well, we do have possession. It was B. Many grains are possessing something. Many grains are possessing physical properties. And when we read the corrected version in there, it makes sense. All right. So this person ran simulations to determine the extent to which individual snow grains, plural, are possessing something. They're possessing physical properties. Okay, let me reread that just because I got sidetracked. All right, so this person and colleagues ran simulations to determine the extent to which individual snow grains' physical properties affect the amount of light reflecting off of a snowy surface. All right, so they will test you on possession on both the ACT or the SAT. So on both tests. So just make sure that you can't just compound them. Like something's not going to be possessing something else, it's going to be possessing something else. It just doesn't happen. You'll never see that in English. That's weird. All right, on to more run-ons. All right, here we have a run-on sentence. All right. The Mission 66 initiative, which was approved by Congress in 1956, represented a major investment in the infrastructure of overburdened national parks. It prioritized, physical improvements to the park's roads, utilities, employee housing, and visitor facilities, while also establishing educational programming for the public. And I just noticed that's possession for singular park, or sorry, many parks are possessing roads, which makes sense because we just covered this idea. That's plural possession. The apostrophe follows the S. So that's just a good example of what I'd previously been talking about. All right. So we have a comma splice run on with this one. And this is just a regular old run on. Why? Just a quick question for the group. And I don't care whoever wants to take a try at this. Why can we put a semicolon here? Anybody? It's totally legal.
Because they're both independent clauses.
Yeah, perfect. Awesome. So we have two things that could each be a sentence. It's perfectly legal to join them with a semicolon in English, as long as they're related to one another or can contrast one another. I can't say today is Wednesday, semicolon, showers are refreshing. They have nothing to do with one another, those two independent clauses. But these are perfectly related, so we can connect them with the semicolon. Thank you so much for chiming in. So watch out for run-ons. They're on both tests. All right, on to the next one. All right, on to 18. They're testing us on tense. Are we in present tense? Are we in past tense? Are we in present perfect? And it could also just be a question of subject-verb agreement. In addition to tense, because singular subjects take singular verb forms, plural subjects take plural verb forms. And maybe I'll just write down the verb that we're dealing with here. It's the to be verb. All right, so do we need a singular version of to be? Do we need a plural version of to be? Do we need a past tense of to be? Do we need a present tense of to be? So it's kind of testing a few different things here with this question. I'm going to read the question, and then we just have to figure out how many people Josephine St. Pierre Ruffin is. I think she's just one person. So maybe we need a singular. But let me try it. Let's just try it. Try the whole thing. The progressive era in the U.S. witnessed the rise of numerous Black women's clubs, local organizations that advocated for racial and gender equality. Among the club's leaders, so we have many clubs and we have many leaders. So that's how plural possession works. So we're talking about many clubs. Among the club's leaders, is it were Josephine St. Pierre Ruffin? If she were plural, we would pick that. Is it are Josephine St. Pierre Ruffin? Do we need present tense? Is this happening now? I don't think we're in the progressive era of the United States. And I can already tell we're in the past tense. Do you see this? I can already tell we're in the simple past. Right there. Simple past. So the progressive era witnessed something. We're in the past tense. We don't need any present anything. Okay, so back to what we were saying is, do we need a singular form of to be, which would be was, or do we need a plural form of to be, which would be were? We need the singular. We just need one individual, Josephine St. Pierre Ruffin. Let me read the corrected version. Among the club's leaders was Josephine St. Pierre Ruffin, one person, founder of the Women's Era Club of Boston. Now, if I were going to follow this among the club's leaders and give two people, we would need were. So something like this. Among the club's leaders were Josephine St. Pierre Ruffin and Jane Doe. So we would need were. We would need a plural form of to be if we were going to mention multiple people, but we didn't. We just mentioned one person. So that one was A. Just keep track of how many you miss as we go. This is just all practice for this weekend or a later date if you're taking it later. All right. So here I wrote, I just jot down little notes. I think that sometimes I think that they're testing us on certain English concepts. Here, I think we have a non-essential clause. You may have learned this as a non-restrictive clause. It's the same exact thing. And we can offset our clause in 3 ways in English, and they actually vary in intensity. The least intensive way of offsetting your parenthetical information would be with parentheses. The next most intensive way of offsetting parenthetical information would be with commas. And the strongest way to offset your parenthetical information, this really emphasizes the material within the em dashes, would be with em dashes. So then it looks like they gave us a few options. It looks like I'm either looking at commas or em dashes. So I think that we don't even have parentheses as an option here, but in general, in the English language, it is an option, just not an option on this particular test. And I think this question also lends itself to the stutter strategy. So I may utilize that as well. All right. But just remember, if we open the clause with a comma, we must close the clause with a comma, or if we open the clause with an em dash, we must close it with an em dash. We can't just have one of them. That would be an error. All right, so I'm going to look at some of these answer choices. Let me read it. Ellie Eisenberg, a genetics expert at Tel Aviv University in Israel, recently discovered that blank have a special genetic ability called RNA editing that confers evolutionary advantages. All right, I'm going to consider A. Ellie Eisenberg, a genetics expert at Tel Aviv University in Israel, recently discovered that cephalopods, I opened it with a comma, so I would expect that we would have to close this someday. All right, cephalopods. And we're just defining what cephalopods are here. So that's non-essential information. That's a non-restrictive clause. I'm just explaining what a cephalopod is. So we do need the commas or whatever punctuation we choose. We need something to show that we could scoop this clause out and would still retain meaning. Okay, cephalopods, ocean dwellers that include the squid, the octopus, and the cuttlefish. I'm missing a comma. So the whole answer's out. I have to close that clause. It can't just go on forever. So it's already not A. All right. Cephalopods. I open my em dash, and that's fine. We can put an em dash there. Ocean dwellers. I got another em dash. I don't think that belongs there. And then we can't close it with a comma. We opened this with the em dash. All right, so I already know it's not B. I am going to try the stutter strategy. Was there a stutter? Is it even worse than we thought? I'm going to try to really exaggerate this. All right. Ellie Eisenberg, a genetics expert at Tel Aviv University in Israel, recently discovered that cephalopods, ocean dwellers, that include the squid. Do you see how a native English speaker would never pause here? They would just say, he or she would just say, ocean dwellers that include the squid, the octopus, and the cuttlefish. There would be a pause here, but that needs to be an em dash. You can't just mix and match these things. And then this doesn't belong here at all. All right, so B has numerous errors. Do we have a stutter right here? I'm going to read it that way. Let me pause unhealthily long after include. Ellie Eisenberg, a genetic expert at Tel Aviv University in Israel, recently discovered that cephalopods, ocean dwellers that include the squid, the octopus, and the cuttlefish. I'm going to read it the normal way. Recently discovered that cephalopods, ocean dwellers that include the squid, the octopus, and the cuttlefish. So clearly no pause belonged there. Here we open it with an em dash. We close it with an em dash. Yes, it is the right answer. That's the way a native English speaker would read it. No pause, no weird pauses anywhere. And notice if I open it with the em dash, I must close it with the em dash. All right, so remember that I'm stuttering to say it. Remember the strategy on Saturdays. I don't know, it's the best way I've encountered to determine if punctuation is necessary or unnecessary. Would a native speaker pause here at all? All right, we're just going to do a few more of these. All right, on to 20. I think it's another tense question. I tried to jot some notes down here about which tense the various answers indicate. So answer choice A has a present participle. Answer choice B has a present infinitive. C is present perfect. And D is future tense. So I just need to know what tense I'm in. Let me read the question and then we'll just pick a tense. All right. A model created by biologist Louis Valente predicts that the rate of speciation, the rate at which new species form. Look, there's a perfect example of M dashes for a non-restrictive clause. It's the same thing we just did. A non-essential clause, however you learned it, it's the same thing. Okay, so if we open it with the M dash, we close with the M dash. I'm getting distracted. On an isolated island located approximately 5,000 kilometers from the nearest mainland, blank triple the rate of speciation on an island only 500 kilometers from the mainland. All right, so we're dealing with a model, and it's a model that predicts things. You know when when models predict things to happen, they predict them to happen in the future. Sorry, they just do. Let me read the correct version. It's a prediction, so this is going to happen in the future. I'm going to read the whole corrected version, but I mean, if I'm predicting the weather, that's going to happen in the future. In this case, we're predicting the rate of speciation. Okay, let me read the corrected version. A model created by a biologist, Louis Valente, predicts that the rate of speciation, the rate at which new species form on an isolated island located approximately 5,000 kilometers from the nearest mainland, will be triple the rate of speciation on an island only 500 kilometers from the mainland. Interesting. Wow. That's a cool. I kind of want to read this paper now. I want to look at this model. All right, so that was future tense. Something's going to happen in the future. On to 21. Here's a transitional word or phrase question. Award-winning travel writer Linda Watanabe McFerrin considers the background research she conducts on destinations featured in her travel books to be its own reward. Blank McFerrin admits to finding the research phase of her work just as fascinating and engaging as exploring a location in person. Okay, so I don't think that we need an adversarial transition such as A. That's going to move us into the opposite direction and it subtracts things. If I were to say by contrast, we're going into the opposite direction. But I have learned that the research she conducts on destinations is its own reward, and that holds true. We're not moving into the opposite direction. She does find the research phase just as fascinating as exploring the location in person. So we just need a nice additive transition. We're moving in the same direction and we're just illustrating a fact. In fact, McFerrin admits to finding the research phase of her work just as fascinating and engaging as exploring a location in person. Watch out for transitional words and phrases. They are on both tests. They are on the ACT. They are on the SAT. They're on both exams. And incorrectly used transitions make writing less cohesive, less understandable. And if we put any of the wrong transitions, like if we put by contrast in there and then we say the same thing, you realize that this sentence here that follows is just saying that, yeah, research in destination, research is its own reward. We're not moving in the opposite direction here. So that was a wrong answer. Wrong answers. Okay, so we made some pretty good progress. I mean, we're already up to question 21. In just a short amount of time, we've almost gone through. Well, we still have some of these other questions. I might just do one last one for old time's sake. Maybe we'll just do it together because we're running out of time here. But hopefully you find some of these strategies useful on Saturday. Remember the stutter strategy. It's not cheating. It can be a handy way to see if punctuation needs to be there at all. Just give it a nice, healthy pause and then do it the other way. Just read it and quickly go on right into the next word. If a pause belongs there, you'll know because some type of punctuation that needs to be there will be there. And if no pause should be there at all, you'll instantly know. All right, so yeah, I said we'll do one more and I'm true to my word. We'll just do number 22. We'll briefly talk about it. Maybe I'll just give you a few last minute tips and tricks, do this, don't do that before test day, and then that's it. All right, so we'll just do this one together because we're already at the end here. This is one of those while researching a topic, a student has taken the following notes. They always tell you what they're looking for. So I really like to underline portions of these questions. They always say something like this: the student wants to blank, the student wants to X, the student wants to highlight this, the student wants to summarize this, whatever. So they always tell us what we're trying to do with the bullet points. So I prefer to underline it, or in this case, maybe I'll highlight it. The student wants to introduce the novel, The Holder of the World, to an audience already familiar with this author. That's all we're trying to do with our quotes, with our bullet points. We're not trying to combine all of the bullet points into one answer. Typically, that never happens. The correct answer is usually just a few of the bullet points. So we're not trying to combine them all. We're just trying to introduce the novel to someone who's already familiar with this author. So I'm going to read all the bullet points, and then we just need to combine them in a way that would introduce the novel to someone who's already familiar with the author. I mean, don't overthink these. They're relatively straightforward. Bharati Mukherjee was an Indian-born author of novels and short stories. She published the novel The Holder of the World in 1993. This is the novel we're trying to introduce here. A central character in the novel is a woman living in 20th century United States. Another central character in this novel is a woman living in 17th century India. Okay, so I think we are probably combining these three bullet points. Like if I'm trying to introduce this novel and you're already familiar with who this person is, I just need to explain this is a novel and these are two characters in it. I think we're just going to try to combine those three bullet points. Let's see where we can combine all three of those bullet points effectively. I'm going to consider answer choice C. Bharati Mukherjee's novel, The Holder of the World, centers around two women, one living in 20th century United States and the other in 17th century India. That is the best way I can combine those three bullet points. We learned this is a novel. You already know who this person is because you're familiar with this author. They tell us that. So we're just saying, hey, this is a novel. That's the name of it. And here are two characters in the novel. That's it. That's it. And the other answer choices won't do this. Let's look at A. I want to look at some of the wrong ones. We never learn we never learn the title of this book. So yeah, I have two characters, but we're trying to introduce this novel. You can't tell me the name of the novel? All right. B doesn't tell me much about the novel. It doesn't mention those characters. It doesn't mention the United States character or the Indian character. D, how vague can we possibly get? Pretty vague. The Holder of the World was not only the only novel written by Indian-born The Holder of the World was not the only novel written by Indian-born author, Bharati Mukherjee. Okay, so I guess that's factually true. Tells me nothing about this novel. I don't even learn about the two characters that are in it. But it's not the only novel this person has written. That's pretty bad. Okay. All right, so we've only done 22 of them. So add up how many you got right out of 22. If you're getting approximately 10 or 11 of these, that would be a 500 English score. Oh, it's hard to write on this tablet. I don't know why. Anyway, 11 would be about the national average. Hopefully, maybe if you're getting 20, 21 of these correct, maybe even 22, you'll be in the 700s for sure. And similar questions are on the ACT as well. So I don't feel bad about going over these because the grammar questions, they're pretty much identical on that test. Okay, so add up how many you got right for this exercise. Just a couple last minute things. I just housekeeping things I want to mention. So a couple of you are taking the test this weekend. Make sure that you have fresh batteries for your calculator. You can also use Desmos. Make sure that you know where the testing center is ahead of time. Make sure that you arrive there early. They lock the doors at a certain point, so make sure that you're early. Make sure that your device is fully charged. Blue Book's installed. Bring a charger, although you may or may not have access to an outlet. They'll give you a bathroom break in the middle. It's like about 10-minute break that you could utilize. They'll probably collect all the cell phones, so don't be worried about that. You got to bring your printout from the College Board. Anything else? Yeah, make sure you get plenty of sleep the night before the test. Don't stay up. Just get plenty of sleep, at least 8 hours. Eat a good breakfast. I'm not joking. That could make the difference. It really, really could. So eat a good breakfast. Stick to your routine. Don't stay up late the night before. Try to think. Don't break up with your significant other the night before the test. Just trying to think what could go wrong. That sort of thing. And also, I do want to mention just one other thing, because Zoe Robson is taking the ACT eventually. So I just wanted to mention, just let us know a little bit closer to that test. I'm just going to write something down here. Okay, so this is Mrs. Hessler's email address. So Zoe, just email us maybe a little bit before that test and sometime you want to get together. I just want to go over with you some of the math. So the ACT math goes a little bit higher than the SAT. There's matrix multiplication on it. We've seen foci of an ellipse. We've seen period and amplitude of trig functions. So there's just a few other loose ends that I would like to go over with you at some point before you take the ACT. It's not on the SAT, so which is why we haven't done it. But other than that, I think we're good. So I'm going to sign myself off. Good luck on your tests, all of you. I think you are going to crush these exams. So I'm not saying that. Please let Mrs. Hessler know. You'll get your scores in about 2 weeks. So that's it. So I'm just going to sign us off because I don't need to keep us any later than we already are. So just, you can sign yourself off as well. It's been such a pleasure working with all of you, and we just look forward to seeing how you did. But that's all I got. So have a great night, and yeah, good luck on your test.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Zoe.
you.
Thanks, Zoe. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Addie. Have a great night. Good luck.